like to briefly acknowledge the support that makes this gathering possible. Thank you, Dean Kamath, Dean Norman, my co-chairs, Professor Amy Jaffe, Lauren Moss, JP Flaherty, and our colleagues across NYU. Also, thank you, our sponsors and partners, for investing in this work, and more importantly, investing in our students. We are grateful for the institutional commitment that allows conversations like this to happen at scale. Now look around the room for a moment. A little unusual in terms of groupings. You have students, faculty, developers, investors, designers, policymakers, engineers, and technologists. That mix is not accidental. It is the signal, because real estate is no longer just an asset class. It is where the future is being negotiated quietly, system by system, building by building. And if you're in this room today, it's because you already know something has changed. For decades, we used to treat real estate like a blueprint problem. You know the drill. Draw the plans, run the numbers, get the approvals, build, lease, and repeat. That model worked when the world was stable. But today, the world is no longer stable. Climate volatility, capital repricing, workforce disruption, community pressure, data scrutiny. These forces aren't coming. They are already here, and they're colliding in our buildings. That's why this conference is called Beyond the Blueprint. Because the next decade of real estate will not be decided by drawings. It'll be decided by systems. Here's the reality we have to face. Buildings sit at the center of three non-negotiable forces: climate, community, and capital. Ignore climate, and your asset becomes uninsurable, as some of you know, and unfinanceable. Ignore community, and your project becomes unbuildable. Ignore capital, and nothing moves at scale. This is no longer a values debate. It's an operating environment. As many of you may recall, 10 years ago, sustainable real estate was framed as leadership. 5 years ago, we reframed it as risk mitigation and resilience. Today, it's about competence. Do you understand how energy markets shape asset value? Do you understand how climate exposure shows up in financing terms? Do you understand how housing access affects workforce stability? Do you understand how data credibility determines investor trust? Because the market is sorting for people that do. That's why this conference is structured the way it is. Not silos, not single discipline panels. We have energy conversations that include grid operators and developers, housing conversations that include workforce pipelines and educators, finance conversations that include technology and transparency, design conversations that also include reuse, regulation, and resilience. Because real progress does not happen in neat categories, as many of you already know. It happens at the intersections where things are messy and interconnections, or the intersections, are uncomfortable. They force trade-offs. They expose blind spots. But that's where the learning really happens. There's another quiet theme running through today. Trust. Trust in data, trust in claims, trust in disclosures, and trust in governance. The next phase of sustainable real estate, unfortunately for some, will not be better storytelling. It'll be won by better measurement. What gets measured will get financed. What gets verified gets scaled. What gets hidden will definitely get discounted. Transparency is not a burden anymore. It is the price of admission. Let me speak to our students directly for a moment. You're not here to observe the industry. You're here because the industry is already adjusting to you. You will notice something very intentional today. Students are not just attending this conference, they're moderating every panel. And it's not symbolic, it's structural. Because the future of this industry depends on who learns to ask the right questions early. Your expectations around climate accountability, housing access, technology, and ethics are not fringe. They are early indicators. Capital follows talent, policy follows pressure, markets follow norms, as some of you have studied in my class. You're not the future audience, you're the leading edge. So ask the hard questions today, push past the talking points, demand clarity, because the careers you're stepping into will shape how cities actually function in the future. So if we get this right, something important happens. Sustainable real estate stops being a side conversation and an add-on. It becomes how underwriting is done, how buildings are designed, how assets are operated, how risks are priced, and how careers are built. Not because it sounds good, but because it works, because it manages volatility better, because it attracts capital faster, and most importantly, because it produces places that people actually want to work and live in. I think it's the right slide, right? So here's the challenge I want you to leave with as we begin today. Do not treat this as a conference you just attend. Treat it as a system you're stepping into. Make connections across disciplines. Listen for tension, not just success stories, because that's where the real fun is, right? Pay attention to where the incentives align and where they break. And ask yourself one honest question. What role do I play in this system? Because the future of real estate will not be shaped by one profession, one technology, or one policy. It'll be shaped by people who can see the system as a whole and act inside it. And that's what Beyond the Blueprint means. One final note, at lunch, you will see student posters showcasing real projects that were developed in my class using real data, real constraints, and real-world problems. I encourage you to spend time with them. We'll also be joined by a student dance performance from NYU Tisch, and later this afternoon, jazz from NYU Steinhardt again will carry us into the networking reception. That is intentional again, because sustainable places are not just efficient, they are alive. Thank you for being here, and let's get to work.